Shalom. And like always, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to Apostle Great Millstone. And peace and blessings to the Yakim out there pushing the truth and sincerity, putting their lives and the freedom on the line. Shalom. This video is going to be about these pastors really don't know the scriptures. I was watching the news the other day. Just so happened to just come across the BBC news report on Maryland Public Television. And it's a short 2-minute video. I'm going to let the video play. And then I'm going to come back in and expound on the video with the scriptures, because where they're talking about Donald Trump and his Christian values, they have to understand these people have nothing to do with the scriptures. Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible. All right.
Hallelujah! Greenleaf Christian Center, a black evangelical church in North Carolina. The Reverend Dr. William Barber says many Christians have dumped their principles in return for access to power. The leadership of evangelicalism, people like Franklin Graham and others, say that God put Donald Trump in the White House. Do you agree with that?
They can say anything, The slave master said that God ordained slavery. It wasn't true. The segregation said that God ordained segregation. It wasn't true. The greatest critique on Donald Trump is not his personal vices. What is worst is his political vices, is his political agenda. We bless you, we love you.
Members of his congregation agree.
I think it's disgraceful the way he's treating people of color.
His ideas don't match up with any of what the Bible is saying.
Ralph Drollinger says Donald Trump just needs time to grow.
Any person that's young in Christ is going to have issues with their demeanor outwardly, measurably, especially if your whole life's on camera.
But Peter Werner, who worked for 3 Republican presidents, says Donald Trump is less a Christian and more a hypocrite.
Oh, I think that the damage that Trump is doing to Christianity and the damage that Christians who are Trump supporters are doing is catastrophic, and a very harsh indictment of the people who stood by him, who were his sword and his shield.
The Christians.
The Christians.
With some now questioning their support, Donald Trump planted seeds of fear during a dinner with evangelical leaders at the White House on Monday, warning that if they don't vote Republican at the midterm elections in November, then there will be civil unrest, even violence. Martin Bashir, BBC News, Washington.
So we have to understand. Let's go to Daniel 4:17, because the pastor talks about how these politicians get in office. These people think that they get in office because they vote them in, or the powers that may be put them in there. Yeah, the powers that may be already put them in there, but you have to understand, the Lord controls everything. Even who's going to be your leaders and those men of great stature that come into play, that are in the so-called public eye, he ordains or allows these things to go down. Okay, this is Daniel 4:17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whosoever he will, and setteth upon over it the basis of men. So the Lord places leaders in their position, from Putin to DJ Trump to Barack Obama. Everybody that's been in office, or any leader, from a king, so-called king, to a president, the Lord has allowed that to happen. You people have to understand that these pastors don't understand the scriptures. They don't read the scriptures. Talking about the Lord doesn't ordain that. Also, he was also going into the pastor was talking about the slavery. And believe it or not, the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is slavery. Guess what? Yes, it is. It's in the scriptures. But see, these pastors don't read. They go off the doctrine of the precept for men and don't go into the scriptures to let the flock know, man. The Lord is down with slavery. Because the children, his chosen people, the Israelites, the so-called Black, Latinos, Native Americans, are royal people. And royalty don't work. You have what? You have slaves. So, and this is in the book of Leviticus 25, verse 44. Okay? But first, let's get into context so people don't be like, oh, you going off. This is Leviticus 25 and 1. And Yahweh spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto Yahweh. And now this is going into the Sabbath, but we know that right here, when we're dealing with Leviticus chapter 25, is the Lord speaking to Moses and telling the children of Israel certain things. So let's jump down to verse 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Verse 45. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy. And for your families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession. Verse 46. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever, but over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one another with rigor. So here it is. The Lord told the children of Israel, you can take these heathens that's round about you. So-called Edom, Moab, Ammon, Elam, a.k.a. so-called white man, Chinese, the Japanese, all these other nations that are outside the nation of Israel, they're supposed to be our bondmen, which is slave man and slave woman. But amongst our own people, you would like say if you was you wasn't too well off, I would bring you in and you may work my fields or whatever, and I for a certain amount of time, and I let you go. After a couple of years you would help me out, and nice little severance package, and that way you be able to stand on your own 2 feet and go. We did not keep our own people in bondage. So the Lord is down with slavery, because the slaves were supposed to be the other people, the other nations, to the children of Israel. But Israel went off, and so what happened when Israel went off? Every time Israel went off, what did the Lord do? The Lord sent a nation to get us and put us into captivity. And that's how the Lord punished us. Just like if you punish your child when they do something wrong. But the Lord's on another level, man. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is on another level when he does this stuff. But people be like, I find that hard to believe. That's because you don't want to pick up your book and read. All the answers that you need are in the scriptures. Right now I'm just drawing a blank. I'm trying to figure out, So it's going to go into why we were sold into slavery. And I believe I already touched on that again, but edification purposes, we're going to go back in there anyway. Because a lot of people might be new and they're trying to understand what's going on. It's like I'm just having a hard time finding what I'm trying to find right now. Let's go ahead and just cheat a little bit. Let me go to my tabs. We want to go to the book of Baruch, right after Ecclesiasticus. So we're going to go to Baruch 4 and 6. Come on. I'm just having a hard time right now. It's lucky, everyone. Just bear with me for a minute. There we go. Ecclesiasticus. Just trying to get, I don't want to skip it. All right, there we go. So this is Baruch 4 and 6. All right. So this is Baruch 4 and 6, dealing with the children of Israel, you so-called blacks, Latino, Native Americans, white. Believe it or not, yeah, even the so-called Latinos, the Hispanics, they was in captivity underneath the conquistadors, the Spaniards. This is why they speak Spanish, Espanol, the Portuguese, down in Portugal, the Portuguese down in Brazil, even the so-called Native Americans, they was in captivity too. Look where they are now. They're on these reservations put there by this damn devil, man. So this is Baruch 4 and 6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved Yahweh to wrath. You were delivered unto the enemies. For you provoked them that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not unto Yahweh. So here it is. We was, instead of worshiping Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, with all happiness and gladness for everything, we want to do what these other heathen nations want to do. We want to worship their damn stupid ass gods that ain't real. So the Lord punished us. And how does he did it? He sent us into captivity. He sent another nation to get us and put us in captivity. But in all essence, he also, being a just power, even when you really look at it, he gave every nation a chance to rule. Every nation that had the children of Israel in captivity was a great nation, a great kingdom, because we built it up. All right? So you got to understand. And not everybody is the children of God. Because they're talking about, be a good Christian and everything else. But you've got to understand who the servants of the Lord are. So let's see who the servants of the Lord are. This is going to be in Isaiah 43, 27. Oh, it's lacking. Not the servants. We're also going to go and explain why we went into captivity also. This is another precept. Isaiah 43 and 27, thy first father has sinned, thy teachers have transgressed against me. Therefore I profaned the princes of the sanctuary, and have given Jacob to this curse, and Israel to the reproaches. So what was the curses? When you go back in Deuteronomy 28, from verses, start at 15. Let's go to it real quick. Deuteronomy 28. All right. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes that I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Let's go into two. I'm just going to go to two of the curses that was going to happen to the children of Israel. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And here's another curse. This is the main curse. This is the very curse that tells you, put the sign on the children of Israel. Who did this happen to? Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way thereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So when did these so-called white Jews went into captivity and were sold for bondmen and bondwomen, for slave man and slave woman? When did that happen? It never happened to them. So, and a lot of people want to be say like, well, we didn't go back into to Egypt, but you've got to understand what that term Egypt means. In verse 28, let's go to Exodus 20, and let's start verse 2. I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So Egypt is synonymous to the house of bondage. So did the so-called white Jewish people went into captivity, was in bondage? Were they sold on the auction blocks? No, they weren't. But the so-called blacks, Latino, and Native Americans were. All right. All of this to prove a point that these pastors don't read and don't know the scriptures. They want to give you that feel-good story. And when he's discussing and talking about topics about this, and especially about Donald Trump, him being, his personal vices is not important. Yes, they are important. Because he's a liar. He's been caught numerous times lying. All right? Because you got to understand. Was it our judgment? Because was it meant for us to go into slavery? No, it wasn't meant for us to go into slavery. We were supposed to be royal priesthood, but then again, maybe it was. Because why? In order to appreciate righteousness, you got to know what wickedness is, right? Because the Lord says that ye are gods, that ye are gods. I can't recall, is that Psalms 80, is it 83? But being God, you have to know good and evil. So right now, we're in the process of learning wickedness and evil underneath this man right now. And we're getting a first-hand account of wickedness and evil. So when we get into the kingdom, yes, here it is. Psalms 82 and 6. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So yeah, so we are to be like gods. Because when Yahweh Shai comes back, to deliver us, we're not going to taste death no more, and we would be like gods to these other nations. All right, but was it meant for us to drink from the cup? Yes, it was, more or less so. Let's go to Jeremiah 49 and 12. For thus says the Lord, behold, those whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So, all these nations that had us in captivity through the past, through the history, and in this last captivity that we are in right now underneath Edom, underneath these Edomites. This is the last captivity. We were not meant to drink the cup. What's that cup? That cup is slavery. But guess what? That cup is going to get passed. When we get delivered out of here, guess who's going to drink up the cup? Edom, Moab, Ammon, Elam, Ishmael, all these other nations, they're going to drink this cup. And they're going to drink all of it. This cup of slavery that Yahweh Hashem Yahshua and his heavenly son Yahweh Shai is going to come and bring for them. A nice big goblet. Drink it all, down to the dregs. So people have to understand that. Because now he's talking about, they're Christians, but you got to understand about who are the real Christians. Because no other nation, these other nations cannot be the so-called Christians. And we're not talking about in the sense that Because the first Christians was what? Was talked about in Acts 11. And we're going to find out who the first Christian was. And it was used as a derogatory term. All right. This is Acts. I'm going to start at Acts 11. I'm going to start at 19 through 20. Then I'm going to jump down to 26. All right. This is Acts 11 and start at 19. Now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only. And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch spoke unto the Grecians, preaching the Lord Yahweh Shai. So here they all, well, hold up. They were the Grecians, but they said they was only speaking to the Jews. And so guess what? But what also said earlier in verse 19, now they were scattered abroad. Who was scattered abroad? The Israelites. Remember verses 20, Deuteronomy 28 verse 64, that was one of the curses, that the children of Israel be scattered amongst all nations. This is why you had all the apostles and the prophets. They was going about going to all the nations. Because why? Israel was in all these other nations. Now let's jump down to 26. And when he had found them, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. And who were the disciples? All the disciples were Israelites. There was followers of Yahweh Shai, the one you ignorantly call Jesus. So you have to understand, so this is who the real Christians are. All right? And because all these other nations, like these Edomites, they all have nothing to do. They shouldn't even be touching our book, man. These other nations, they shouldn't even be trying to get down with this, because this has nothing to do with you at all. And they talk about what Donald Trump, he falls short. That's because he's the damn wicked, man. This is Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. So I forgot how many lies they said they already caught Donald Trump talking. He just lies. Why? Why he lie like that? Why? Because the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Was Yahweh Shai was a so-called white man? Yahweh Shai was born on December 25th. Nope, that's a false. Christmas, we celebrate Christmas. That's the Lord speaks against it, but they push that. You know, Easter, but when you go into the scriptures and you see that where it's talking about the Passover. You know, so this is Psalms 50, and we're going to start at verse 16. But unto the wicked, Paul has said, whether it has to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldst take my covenant in thy mouth. So what do you don't have no reason to hold this Bible and say we believe in this, because you know you don't. You're a liar. You don't. What are you doing touching this book and declaring this Yahweh's statutes and declare, you know, and should take the covenant. The covenant wasn't for you. Donald DJ Trump, you're an Edomite. This is not for you, because it's for the Lord's chosen, his very elect. And what am I looking for? Okay. And see who's his servant. This is Isaiah 45 and 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by name. I have surnamed thee, though thou dost not know me. So that's who the Lord's chosen is Israel, which would be the Northern Kingdom, so-called Latinos and of Hispanic descent, and Judah, which is so-called Negroes, so-called blacks. Like we are the children of Israel. We're the descendants of Jacob. All right. And let me get one more. This is to reaffirm who is the Lord's chosen. Who are the elect? Who's this word for? Who's these scriptures for? Who's this book for? This is Psalms 147, starting at verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. So you have to understand, all these other nations have nothing coming. They know nothing about the Lord's judgments. They know nothing about his statutes and commandments because they don't try to live up to them. But you so-called blacks, Latino, we are the most faithful people. We have all the spirit of faith. When we get into something, we're trying to in the seek of truth. But a lot of our people got, what's the word I'm looking for? Disenfranchised with the scriptures. Why? Because they was taught lies by our oppressors. And here it is, these pastors and priests, they go to this theologian schools, seminary schools that's being taught by oppressors, trying to, how your oppressor going to tell you your truth and your history when it's all in here? So hopefully this is some kind of little edifying for those who watch this video. So on that note, all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai, Barak Shalom. Sorry about that.